Sup, dude? Have you ever wondered who Michael Jordan styled his game after? Well, need not wonder more because you're looking at him. This is David Thompson, aka Skywalker. He got that nickname because of his absurd leaping ability. The dude was just 6'4", yet he could grab a quarter off the top of the backboard. Bill Walton described him as Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, and LeBron James all mixed into one. You probably don't know too much about the dude, so allow me to tell you his story. Skywalker was drafted first overall in both the NBA and ABA draft after putting up 27 points per game during his 3 years at NC State. The two teams that drafted him were the Virginia Squires of the ABA and the Atlanta Hawks of the NBA. He decided he didn't want to play for the Hawks, so the Squires traded him to the Nuggets, who he signed with for 6 years and $3 million. The Nugs weren't in the NBA yet, so his rookie year was spent in the ABA. He became a superstar right away, averaging ridiculous numbers for a rookie. 26 points on over 50% shooting, 6 rebounds, nearly 4 assists, 1.6 steals, and just over a block a game. Those numbers were good enough to make him an All-Star, Rookie of the Year, an All-ABA second team member, and he was runner-up for the Slam Dunk Contest, where he threw down the first ever 360 dunk, or as they called it, a twist-around slam dunk. Not only did he do all that, but he brought the Nugs all the way to the finals, where he faced off against Dr. J and the Nets. Sadly for Skywalker, his Nugs fell 4-2, but he played fantastic, putting up 28 points a night, including a 42-point bomb in Game 6, where he shot nearly 70% from the field. After his rookie year ended, the NBA and ABA merged, officially making the dude an NBA goober. His career in the NBA lasted just 8 seasons for a reason I'll explain later, but in those 8 seasons he had many memorable moments, including being part of the greatest scoring title battle in NBA history. Near the end of the 1978 regular season, Skywalker was averaging 26.6 points, while George Gervin, aka the Iceman, was averaging just 0.2 points more. They both had one last game to play, with David's being first against the Pistons and George following shortly after, playing against the Jazz. Going into Thompson's final game, he told his teammates and coach he didn't want to force up shots just to get the scoring title. Instead, he wanted to play their usual game and go with the flow. This turned out to be the right decision because the flow was on his side. The dude turned in a basketball Jesus, scoring 53 points in the first half, hitting a completely ridiculous 20 out of 21 shots. Me personally, I've never heard of someone scoring that many points on such crazy accuracy. That's some 2K shit. Now in the second half, Detroit used their noggin and employed a new defensive scheme to stop him. This new tactic consisted of making as many as 4 dudes guard him at a time. To their credit, it worked. He put up just 6 points in the third, but he still somehow finished the game with 73 points on 28 for 38 shooting. Wilt and Kobe are the only other players to score such a ridiculous amount of points. Because of this absurd game, he overtook George in the scoring race. The Spurs heard about this and made it their mission to get George 59 points in order to reclaim the title. As the Iceman's final game began, he started busting off rounds. Only problem was he was missing. He started off 0 for 6, but he wasn't cold for long. He began heating up, and by the end of the first, he had 20 points. Then in the second, he poured in an additional 33, making him only need to score 6 more in the second half. Sadly for Skywalker, he got those 6 and some, finishing with 63 points, shooting 23 for 49 from the field, claiming the 1978 scoring title by a very narrow margin. Although David lost the scoring race just over a week later, he signed a $4 million deal, making him the richest man in the NBA. $4 million is reserve player money now, but back then he was one of the highest paid athletes ever. Unfortunately, this is where his career and life starts to go downhill. At 23 years old, David started doing a lot of drugs, like any other famous rich person would do. It didn't affect him immediately though. He averaged 24 points on 50% shooting over the following 3 seasons, but by the 1981-82 season, his production had dropped drastically to just 15 points per game. This fall off in production forced the Nuggets to trade David to Seattle for a bag of chips. He lasted just barely over 1 year with Seattle, then he checked into a drug rehab center and missed a majority of the 1983-84 season. The rehab clearly didn't help much, because one night in 1984 he was at the club and got into an argument with someone who then pushed him down the stairs, injuring him and ending his basketball career. Then it just keeps getting worse. By 1986 he was spending $1,000 a day on coke, which made him bankrupt, and by 1987 he was sentenced to 180 days in jail for assaulting his wife. Dude went from hero to zero, but hey, that's what happens when you snort that nose candy and beat your wife. Although his career went up in flames, he found the Lord shortly after and reorganized his life. The dude was one hell of an athlete and basketball player. It's a shame drugs ended his career. Without Skywalker and his ridiculous jumping ability, Michael Jordan may have never became Michael Jordan. He's a very important dude in NBA history. Another dude who's super important in NBA history is Dominique Wilkins. It's a shame not many people know much about him, but he was a dog who could punch it like no other. You can click here to watch the video I made on him. Thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed. Bye, dude.